Alrighty, traders, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to the AAA session here once again with my good friends Tyson and Chris. We're going to be talking about the markets this afternoon. We're going to be definitely talking about trade opportunities, huge opportunity, dollar, JPY, as well as, of course, we're going to talk about cryptos and stocks as well. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it right now as we go ahead and introduce the panel. And the panel is going to be Chris, good afternoon, and Tyson, good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Nice to see everybody. Happy Monday.
Doing good. It's good to be here. Happy Monday.
All right, good. Is it really good to be here on a Monday? All right.
Happy
Well, it
Friday.
is.
We're going to talk about the markets. And you know what?
Yeah.
Midday on a Monday. This is the best place I'd like to be right now.
Absolutely.
With
Listen,
two
guys,
amazing world-class traders talking the markets, I couldn't think of a better place.
Well, this is a big opportunity, I think, on a couple of things here. I want to go ahead and highlight a few things right here. Dollar index definitely turned around last week. We started seeing a nice big bearish candle on the daily time frame, indicating price is going to move to the downside. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the details, but there's great opportunities with dollar weakness this week, as well as JPY strength. If we look at all the JPY crosses, we've noticed that the JPY crosses are moving south, based on JPY strength that we're seeing at the moment right now. New Zealand JPY, Pound JPY, Euro JPY, all creating opportunities. We're going to go into the details and talk about that, but I'm going to flip it over to start off with stocks first. Go ahead and, Chris and Tyson, what is it that the traders need to look out for this week on stock opportunities?
So I'll kick off real fast, Chris, and I'll just say we had a kind of a mixed bag last week. I talked about three trades. Two of them ended up going fairly well. One was in currencies, two were in stocks, and then another one not so much. OppFi, if you look at it, it was trading around $8 when I called it out. It's trading below $8 now. So you might be like, oh, that wasn't a good trade, Tyson. Well, yeah, it was, because after I called it out, it popped to about $9 within the next 24 hours. So yeah, it was a good trade. We ended up taking profits on it. Great job to the traders in the equities on demand. We actually had a trade that was up near 50%. I didn't get 50%. I got near 20%. I ended up closing out about 20% profit, which is awesome. But when we were talking through it, it was up about 50%, Chris, and then it started to sell off a little bit, and I decided to take the trade off. So that was a really good trade. The one that wasn't so good was Beachbody, BODY. It's selling off. I've got a pretty sizable position in already. I actually, Chris, I just added another 500 shares today. It's my favorite position. It's my favorite. Well, not my favorite position, but it is. I really like the stock. I think sitting at $6, $7, $8 is an absolute steal. It may be one that I have to hold for the next 6, 12, 24 months, but I'm absolutely willing to do it. I'll tell you, Chris, I think this is one of those stocks that's a $30 to $50 stock in the next 2 to 3 years. So if I can buy it at $7, $8, and sell it for $30 in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm going to do that. They also have some catalysts coming up with Christmas season and a new bike and all that kind of stuff. So it's falling. I'm going to talk about it a lot. I'm not going to come off of it. BODY is one of my favorite plays, short term and long term right now. So that's kind of so good play on OPFY. OPFI. The question, I guess, maybe some might be wondering is, would I get back in right now? I don't know. I haven't convinced myself yet to get back in, but it was a good trade at first. I got out. We may talk about it in the next few days to get back in. But right now I am still heavy in BODY.
Yeah. And on that, I mean, Tyson and I are both liking the stock overall. Other ones we really like, RKT, SOFI, so that's Rocket and SoFi. We're strong on those, really nice support levels. Interesting, Tyson, because last week Rocket actually went up. So yes. We had RKT going up. It's pulled back a little bit, but we had highs last week around 19.55, and it's pulled back a little bit. Meanwhile, SoFi is sitting around $14.41. Again, critical support, really strong support. There's a nice base around $13 on SoFi. Both are kind of playing fintech. If you want funding, it's student loans, it's mortgages, financing. It's like, these are things that if people have cash, if people are, right now it's like we're still talking about interest rates are incredibly low. This is a crazy story. Last week, family friends of mine, I was over for some family stuff this weekend, and they're moving into a new house. They locked in a 1.97% 15-year mortgage.
Holy
1.97%. Unbelievable. So, we talk about, I follow the 30-year closely, the 15-year closely. If you're still in the game of refinancing, if you're in for closing on new houses, if you're looking to build, looking to buy, you can get so much house for the dollar. It's ridiculous. So it's still a buyer's, I should say it's a seller's market as far as if you're selling your house, but realize that you're buying high. But man, you can get a lot of value at dirt cheap interest rates. And I mean, until they're well above 3.5%, 4%, I'd say right now you're still going to have, it's going to be basically demand is going to outpace supply. I mean, that's why prices have gone up. We've had the average home price, I think right now is like $370K, and it continues to go up. It's like anywhere from 17 to 20% appreciated over the last, couple of years. So we just
signed on a contract for a new development, and they just a week ago, and they increased prices by $10,000 already. So we just made 10 grand.
Right. It was the same. It was the same way for this subdivision that I'm in here. Is within the first year we had like 40K in equity because the base just kept going up. And we're literally building in the same subdivision at the latest part, like the neighborhood is closed and sold out. And our base price is really not that different. So with all the stuff that happened with lumber, the builder's able to lock things in. The base price wasn't that dramatic. And plus with rates super low, we're getting the value that we want. Plus we have equity in this house, and it just works out for the numbers for me. Anyway, I'm digressing, but talking about stocks, Tyson, we've had this, we talked about it last week in Equities on Demand. We talked about this divergence that we're seeing between strong stocks and weak stocks. You and I have several plays out there that are speculation. We've got some high growth potential stocks that we both really like. So, we're talking about Body, we're talking about, PaySafe, we're talking about Rocket, we're talking about SoFi, and we like those stocks a lot. I'm still going to hold them. I'm willing to work the cost down using options, but I want to sit and hang on to them and keep some, keep some margin and cash and dry powder available if we need it. But on the other side, I've also been having a ton of success in riding some strong stocks that just continue to get more bullish. So I'm bullish on AA. I'm bullish on CLF. I'm bullish on, today I added one to the mix, FCX. I'm bullish on X. And I'm kind of think other ones in there. Those are probably ones off the top of my head that they just keep grinding higher. And last week, my Alcoa stock got called away at a high, collected a nice little credit on that one. It dipped back down. I'm back in on credit spreads. So I told traders this morning when Tyson and I were in session. I'm going to keep riding my winners as much as I possibly can. And I'm going to sit and weather the storm in the ones that are not, moving yet. So, do we like the business model? Do we like the fundamentals and technicals? Yes. Are we going to have to wait a little bit longer? Probably. But here's the fun part, Tyson. With you and I drilling our costs down as much as we are, when they pay, they're going to pay really nicely. And one thing I'm also long on right now, I think it's a decent time. We can also talk about volatility. So Gary's asking about the stock market. The stock market as a whole, I'm pretty skeptical of gains in September. I feel like we're struggling at these highs. We're pausing at these highs. I did the measurements today. We're looking at anywhere between 8 to 12% corrections technically in the Qs, in the SPY. Dow Jones will probably suffer as well. I still think it's going to happen. I obviously can't pinpoint it, but I think that September makes sense. We have a lot of tax loss harvesting. We have the September effect. We typically see, post-summer breakouts and higher volatility. And from the technical side, the bull market's long in the tooth. I think it's time to come back and correct, and then we see what Q4 is really made of. If we have a healthy correction, is Q4, just step on the gas pedal, buy the dip, and just take this thing to new highs again? Or is Q4 like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why can't the stock market keep going higher? And we see a lot of hesitation. I would say this. Traders need to think about this over the next probably 3 to 5 years. Can you make money in a bullish market? Probably. Most people do because that's what they want. That's what they expect. Can you make money in a bear market? Probably, because there's high volatility. There's things to trade that move a lot faster, and you can have high volatility and be profitable very quickly. But here's where I think most people struggle. Can you make money in a sideways market? What if we don't make consistently higher highs in the stock market? What are you going to do to make money if the market goes sideways for the next 1 to 5 years? That's where it comes in to be a trader. You have to be a trader to be able to diversify like that. You have to be a trader to figure out where these levels are you can buy low and sell high, where you take and allocate, certain portfolio components to buy low and hold and sit and stay the course, or maneuver where you can buy low, sell high, range trade, be bullish and bearish, be directionally neutral, get paid to hold positions like we do in options, right? When we're in equities on demand, we're teaching traders how to do this. So, and Forex, same thing. I mean, Forex, I know Gary's going to talk about it, and I know we're not letting Gary get a word in edgewise right now, but Gary's going to talk about the New Zealand dollar. I'm pretty sure he is, because it's the first time in a long time, gentlemen, that we're seeing an official cash rate finally forecasted to change, right? This is like, we're talking like 2014. We've had a rumor of official cash rate just changed in 2018, but this week on the calendar for the RBNZ.
Hey, before we get there, before we get to the Forex side, I love the VIXI trade that you're putting on, because that's a volatility play. That, guys, that's a little bit of a bet to the down. Market's kind of sitting at the top a little bit, coming down. Yeah. Tomorrow in Equities on Demand, next week in this session, I'm going to talk about, I think, the most overinflated, potentially at-risk sector is the retail sector, the XLRE. I think it's priced in unemployment continuing forever. I think it's priced in the stimulus continuing forever. I think it is poised for a letdown. Maybe not, but I think there's ways that we can take advantage of it with some bear call spreads sitting at the level. So XLRE bear call spreads, I think are going to look really nice for tomorrow, Chris. We'll talk about that.
Let's look at those. Session. Yes, for sure. I'm
right. Hey, I can just listen to you guys all day long, man, and just I'll just keep flipping around and giving you guys the show. I don't mind. I'm just kidding. But good conversation there, Chris, and absolutely. Now I want to narrow it down before I move on to currencies. I want to narrow it down so the traders that are listening right now can focus on the stocks that really are the ones that they are turning this week. Look, if you're in trades from last week, that's fine. But what is it now that you're focused on this week to get into stocks this week? Yep. What are those stocks? If you can go ahead and just call us three of those stocks right now.
I'm gonna call out body at this current level. I wish I had more dry powder to buy even more. I did buy some more today, just to let you guys know, at about $7. I like buying it. And then bear call spreads on the XLRE, essentially taking a little bit of a bearish position on the retail sector, XLRE. Those are kind of, just looking at XLRE, those are my two favorite plays for this week.
Yep, and I'm looking at that right now. I'm long on the VIXI, the VXX and the VIXY. I'm long on both of those. I honestly like getting long now with actually just buying shares, or I would do a credit spread and see if it goes against me having some insurance. And this, I'm already in the VIXI. I'm long and I have it uncovered, which means if it goes up, if we see a nice little September correction and the stock market goes down 7, 8, 10%, like I'm forecasting, that allows my VIXI to probably jump 10, 15, 20%, if not more. And capitalize some nice gains here in the next couple of weeks. So VIXY, I like bullish. VXX, I like bullish. Tyson likes body long, and XLRE short or bearish. So we'll do options on those this week in Equities on Demand. Perfect. Yep. Perfect. All right, fantastic, guys. Well, great. Well, just like you said, Chris, there's big obviously eyes on the New Zealand dollar rate decision coming out tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're raising the rates 25 basis points, which is the first time in a long time that we've even seen that this is a possibility. Whether it happens or it doesn't, well, the fact is that the fact that there's even a conversation and consensus to say, yes, this is going to happen, it means that people need to pay attention to that. So I do want to draw attention to the New Zealand dollar, but let's just, before we go into the New Zealand dollar, let's just take a quick look at the dollar index, just what we said earlier on, how the dollar index closed out last week and what it showed us, but giving us potential opportunities this week. So as you can see right here, bearish candle. This is the daily time frame right here. We have a bearish candle right here setting up right here. If you look at the currency strength dashboard, you can see here for the weekly setup. We do see dollar weakness. So dollar weakness right here. We do see JPY strength, a lot of JPY strength, and that's what's given the JPY crosses this week a downside move. Pound, New Zealand, Canadian, all trade against the JPY. Seeing some big bearish moves to the downside. Great opportunities. But the thing is here, traders need to be patient. I spoke about it in my live sessions. I spoke about it, and I spoke about the fact that even though we get an indication that we're going to see some downside move, we have to wait for the opportunity. Whether you're trading breaks of supports, whether you're trading counter trend line breaks, whether you're trading retracement moves first and then go ahead and sell off, it all depends on how you want to trade it. But the fact is, the overall directional bias is going to be bearish on the JPY crosses. Again, New Zealand JPY, Pound JPY, Euro JPY, Canadian JPY, all setting up really good. But wait for the opportunity. If you've missed it already,
and you've seen the downside move, you've got to wait for the pullback and then get in on the pullback. But let's go take a look at a couple of things here, guys. And I'm going to go to the chart here. And if you take over here, this is the dollar index, the chart that is showing you right here. We can see that there was a nice little trend line break, right? Trend line break right here, but it came back to retest it. And we did have Friday's close. Look at Friday's close here. Closed out with a nice little bearish engulfing candle, pretty much giving us a good U-turn here. And the one thing that I said is, traders, even though we got this bearish candle right here, look for a correction move. Look for the market to go ahead and retest that bearish candle and then sell off. And so what I meant by that is I meant that we may have to wait till the mid part of the week before we can actually get an opportunity. Let me go into some of the Euro crosses, and then we'll jump into the JPY and the New Zealand crosses as well. But take a look over here as I go into the chart to the, and I'm going to go to, let's take pound US dollar. I like pound US dollar because I think it gives us the best opportunity right here. This is the daily time frame. Look at this beautiful bull crown right here. So we've got a bullish crown right here, setting up right here. Price didn't move to, price hasn't moved to the right support level that we were expected, but we do have a bullish engulfing candle right here. And so look at the same thing. We're getting the same sort of look here. See that retest of that? Well, what that really is doing here is if you go down to the lower time frame, you can see that it's actually a, look here, it's a rally that we had. That's a big bullish move. But then we're having this pullback. This is the correction move. And it's actually created a irregular flat. This is what's so great about this right here. You can see, if you look at this setup, we can see that price went ahead and took out, or at least tested, the high up here at the top. And this is the high here that we're seeing right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this, got a little tool here. So this is the high right here. And so price went ahead and tested the high coming off the support right here at the 382 bounce. Now when the market takes out the high, this is what sets up an irregular flat. And an irregular flat means that price is going to come out, take out the low, and then we're going to go bullish. And look at that. As soon as we took out the low right here, price rallied up, now pull back again, and it's in this beautiful little zigzag. Check this. 1, 2, 3 right here. Nice little zigzag. So we're creating an opportunity to go ahead and buy US dollar right now. So this is on a 15-minute time frame. And so if the market does not hold at this low, then clearly it's looking for something deeper. But the opportunities really present itself. Now, I don't see a signal here on the market fusion to buy yet on the 15-minute, which means that I'm going to have to be a little bit more patient on that. If I flip this over to a 1-hour time frame, let's take a look and see if it's, I'm not seeing anything on the 1 hour. So I'm probably going to have to get a little bit aggressive, trade the 15-minute time frame if I'm going to see the market rally up. So I'm going to look at the 50-minute right here and see if I can get that rally. I did speak about that 382 bounce. Market did test that, test the 50. This could be another retest of the support here and then on its way back up. So there might be a short-term opportunity to buy US dollar, or at least pound US dollar right now. Now that's the pound US dollar. Listen here. If you go to the JPY crosses right here, it's a no-brainer. Look at the JPY crosses. Look at the daily time frame. This is pound JPY. We had a beautiful sell-off on the pound JPY this week, at the beginning of the week. A beautiful sell-off right here. Let's go to Euro JPY. Euro JPY showing the same thing. Look at that. Big bearish move to the downside. Let's go to the New Zealand JPY. Same thing. Look at that. Big bearish move to the downside. Now, the most important thing is each one of these currency pairs, and I think Chris and Tyson, you can jump in on this as well, but each one of these currency pairs are important for the traders to go into the lower time frame and assess where we are, because even though we've seen this bearish move, remember, we've got some news coming out for the New Zealand coming out tomorrow. So if they're going to raise the rates, we're going to possibly see an upside move on New Zealand dollar, which means that New Zealand JPY that we've seen a sell-off on may hit support and we may start seeing a rally. Let's go back to that chart, and I want to go ahead and take a look at this one right here, New Zealand JPY. So here's the New Zealand JPY, and clearly we can see that we broke out of this nice little falling wedge right here, broke out. It created also an irregular flat. I love these patterns right here. So the market created this irregular flat. There it is. It takes out the high, comes back down, takes out the low. Now we should be looking for buying opportunity right here. Now this is a New Zealand JPY. We've been seeing a very strong JPY move. But with New Zealand data coming out tomorrow, Chris and Tyson, tell me what you guys think. If it comes out tomorrow, Do you anticipate bullish move if they're going to raise the rates? I am, but are you going to anticipate bullish move on the New Zealand dollar tomorrow?
Yeah. Hey, I'll jump in here real quick and I'll tell you
Sure.
exactly. So, this actually fits within the pound yen trade that I called out last week, which was, I'm going to pat myself
cool
on the back. It was a very good trade. Closed below Monday, closed below that 52.64 level, which is what we were looking for. And a stop of 53.50. It got within 20 pips of the stop, but again, the stop was 53.50. It never hit it. And now it's, 150 pips or so positive, which is awesome. So good job, anybody who was actually paying attention and following along with that trade. It's a nice trade. However, the target was initially 49.50. Based upon what Gary just showed, I would lock in profit right now. I would lock in the 140 pips that you have in profits. Pat yourself on the back. I think we are going to rally up, maybe look at that rally as another opportunity to sell at a higher price. But I think we're going to, if you stay in the trade, you're going to give back some of the profits before we get down to that 49.50 level. So get out of the trade from last week in the pound yen short. Good job on that trade. Coming back to your trade, Gary, it's the exact reason why I want to get out is because of everything you just said. I agree. I think we could see a bounce in the New Zealand yen, which I think will translate to a bounce in the pound yen. So I'm with you on it.
And I'll add this for the New Zealand dollar. The way that I see myself playing the New Zealand dollar, I'm already exposed on Aussie New Zealand. I'm long and I'm longer term bullish on Aussie New Zealand just because I know that we have 20 to 25 year support. We typically see, if the RBNZ is going to raise rates, we're probably not too far behind from the RBA raising rates as well, maybe getting it back so it's kind of a negligible policy divergence. But the two currency pairs that I like about the New Zealand dollar to kind of give me the direction is the U.S. dollar, so New Zealand U.S. dollar and the Euro New Zealand dollar. They're both stuck right now. And so if I'm looking at Euro New Zealand, for example, I would say that if we get above 68.50, if we get above 1.6850 on the Euro New Zealand, and we confirm, I want to see a daily close. And so you have to remember that these rate decisions come out. We have the rate decision at 10 p.m. Eastern time, and there's a press conference at 11. So really the late Asia session on Tuesday morning and going into the London session on Tuesday, or actually technically it's Wednesday's trading day, I'll be looking for essentially the candle to close, like Tuesday's trading day, or I should say Wednesday's trading day. If that candle closes on the Euro New Zealand above 68.50, I'm looking for the Euro New Zealand to return to the highs at 7,100. If the Euro New Zealand breaks below 66, it's 66.35, so I'll just say 66.25, 1.6625. If we go below that, I think there's room to go back down and hit 63.50. So either way, if we break above 68.50, I'm looking for about 250 pips to the upside. If we break below 63 or 66.25, I'm looking for a move of about 300 pips, about 250 pips to the downside. So I think that's a fair assessment to say if we see some clean confirmation, not noise, that's what I don't want to trade this week. Rate decisions like this can be highly anticipated and be really choppy and really messy. So it could be just a big indecision week. So I like that as far as clarity. New Zealand dollar is also very similar. I would like to see the New Zealand US dollar go down and still go back to the yearly pivot at 66.37. But it's also stuck at a level where if we get above 7,100, I'm long New Zealand dollar and trying to retest 73 or 7,400. So we've got to get above 7,100 on the New Zealand US dollar for me to be bullish. And we've got to get below 69.20 for me to be bearish. And so my outlook is if it can't confirm above or below those levels on those two currencies, I'm staying out of New Zealand in general because I don't think we're going to have really any traction to give us firm New Zealand dollar movement either way. That's my plan.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's good. I think it's exactly what traders should be doing. And I spoke in the trading room this week, and I said, we're going to wait until what happens on tomorrow. What happens tomorrow, Tuesday, right, at 10 p.m. Find out what happens tomorrow, Tuesday, and see how that affects the support and resistance levels that we have in place. And if it does break, just like you said, Chris, if it does break these levels of support and resistance, then we can go ahead and start buying the dips or selling the rallies, depending on, of course, the way the market moves. But looking at the way I'm looking at the technicals at the moment right now, we can definitely look at the larger time frame and anticipate what the market's really going to do. What we expected it based on technical analysis. Go back to the chart that you spoke about on the New Zealand US dollar right here. This pair right here, if you look at the long-term outlook over here, it's telling me here that we have a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and now we're at a wave 4 support right here. So on the New Zealand US dollar right here, I'm looking for rally all the way up here to 77.50. Now I get it, Chris, that you may want to wait for levels to be broken first before you commit yourself to that. But right now, from a long-term perspective, I'm already thinking bullish on New Zealand US dollar without the data coming out tomorrow, without even news coming out. Now, this is the great thing about trading technicals, right? We can anticipate before the news comes out. So sometimes we don't even know what's coming out. We don't even know the news. We don't know what's going to be, what's going to materialize from the news. But what we can look at is we can speculate already and say, based on what I'm seeing from the technicals, I'm expecting something to move the market and move it bullish. And if it is going to be a rate decision, that's going to be a hike. That does make sense while we're looking at a bullish setup on the technicals, and it does line up. So I like it when we get technicals and fundamentals sort of like lining up and confirming that the same direction is what we've seen on the charts, which is nice.
Yeah. And I'll say this, on the New Zealand dollar, I am a definite bull on the New Zealand dollar. If we end up, so I'm looking for ideal levels. I think Gary's analysis is awesome. I do want to be bullish, at least back towards 74. I think we can make new highs. If we're going to make new highs in the New Zealand US dollar, don't be surprised if we somehow make new highs in Aussie US dollar as well. But if there's a chance that the New Zealand US dollar can come down to 6,800, I'm going to start buying like crazy. So
6,800.
6,800. So even if we go down on this Kiwi, like if we kind of fake out with the news and it goes down because it's priced in, and somehow that New Zealand US dollar dips down to 68, between 6,800 and 6,600, I am leveled in, I'm buying, and I'm still planning to go back to 74 to 7,700. So I like those levels a lot. If I'm going to pick and choose my levels, those are what I really like.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, talking about the Aussie New Zealand dollar right here. Let's go ahead and pop that chart open right here. Take a look at that because, and what did you say? You're long on Aussie New Zealand dollar?
I'm long on Aussie New Zealand dollar. We've talked about it before. We now have an August target right around 10600. I've got some nice pockets all the way up to back to 10700. Long term, we have major multi-year support at 1.00, 1.01. You know, I'm still going to give this currency pair the technical respect that it deserves for being very efficient. So I think we have room to drop down into 103.50, 10300. That to me is symmetry. What I'm going to tell traders that they look for, and I'll explain this week in Flex, I'm looking for a massive harmonic pattern, guys. I'm looking for this XABCD pattern that gets us a bullish signal anywhere between, let's say, 104 and 10300. So even if I have to get in early like I am now, I'm anticipating, but I'm looking for that basically a bullish harmonic pattern on a weekly chart that allows me to start looking to buy in 104, 103.50, 10300. And I've got levels back up to 106. I've got levels back to 107. I've got equal highs at 109. So there's a lot of upside to me. But again, it's like it's interesting how this happens, because if you talk to anybody in Australia or anybody from New Zealand, mainly Kiwi, you talk to a Kiwi, they'll probably tell you that our currency pair is going to be so much stronger. They'll never raise rates. And I see this all the time. It's like, I've seen the narrative where it's like, oh my gosh, the RBNZ is so strong and so hawkish right now. And somehow 3 months later, the Aussie New Zealand's back up to 110. So all I'm saying is I'm looking for lows to form. I'm looking for support to form. And I think I'm looking for a massive harmonic pattern on a higher time frame with multi-year support. And if I had to pick, if I could buy between 104 and 100 or 104 and 1.00, I would rather be a buyer there with multi-year support, historical lows with plenty of upside potential, versus trying to sell it now at 104.55 and maybe go after 50 to 100 pips to the downside. That's just
I agree with you, Chris.
Yeah.
In Money Flow, we called out there. Aussie New Zealand was one of the top pairs for the month of August, and we had a buy order setting in, opening up for this week at 104.30. Came down, tagged that level, a little bit lower. A nice looking trade. This isn't typically my style, but buy at 104.30. You were able to get in this morning, stop at 104, target 105.30. Nice 3-to-1 trade. I think it has a really high probability of hitting that target. So that should be a good trade for this week. Maybe it might not happen all this week. It might roll into next week, but I do like that trade. I do think it'll happen this week with some of the news and the fundamentals. But you got to remember, even if Aussie comes in or New Zealand comes in and raises rates, what does that mean? They're going to look at that might be priced in against the Aussie, and they're going to say, okay, the Aussie's next, and we could see a rally in the Aussie New Zealand, which is kind of counterintuitive. But So traders in money flow, you should be long. Should have been long at 104.30. It's looking nice now. I like the trade. And I think we could go up much higher than 105.30, but I think that's my first target.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right here, and I'm taking a good squiz at the chart right here, and I love it. It does sort of like act against what we're anticipating with the news being New Zealand strong, because if it is New Zealand strong, Aussie would not be rallying against the New Zealand dollar. We'd see a down move on the Aussie New Zealand dollar. But the thing here is, Chris, is the Aussie is only coming out in September 7th to start even talking about rate decision. So we've got about 3 weeks before we see the Aussies come in and start discussing. And the funny thing is, we actually had the Aussies have normally been the leaders of rate decision. Anything the Aussies do, the New Zealand tends to follow. But now it's been the opposite. We've seen the New Zealand dollar now, or the New Zealanders, actually taking lead when it comes to rate decision.
Well, think about this, though. Over the last month, the anticipation has been a rate increase. Therefore, the Aussie's been losing value. This is an anticipation move, right? So over the next 30 days, what's the anticipation going to be after New Zealand comes out with an interest rate raise for Aussie? It's going to be an anticipation of higher rates, which therefore it could coincide with saying, oh, now it's the Aussie's turn, so therefore the Aussie starts to rally. So this is a perfect example of the market being a mechanism of future forecast, right? It's a discounting mechanism, essentially, of future forecasts. And so I think the price is already built in with the Aussie, with the New Zealand assumption of the interest rate. Now the next move is going to be to build that into the Aussie side. And so I think maybe fair value with all of it kind of coming out, just looking at kind of some supply levels, I think 107 is maybe fair value right now with all of it built in.
I would agree. We've had a lot of, look at the indecision we had before we started to see that breakdown over the last couple of months. We had a lot of indecision between 107 and 108. Yep. So if we're going to see that fair market, I totally think that's 107, 108 is where that pair is going to sit and kind of find equilibrium without having, and again, if it goes to, I'm not saying we can't go lower. In fact, we've seen it before where it's like, oh my gosh, why won't the Aussie and New Zealand find a bottom? And then when it finds a bottom, it trends up like 800 pips. And if you look back at the chart, you've seen it 2014, 2017, 2018, 2020, like all these pairs where it's like it's down to these major lows, 103 to 1.00, and it just finds these really sharp bottoms and trends like crazy. So, in the event that we do that, I think it kind of slingshots back up into that 107, 108. We might have it go down to 1.01, go all the way up to 110, and then settle back into 107. So here we are talking about all these fair market values, and I think that's right.
I love the fact that we have this fundamental announcement coming out with it so strong, because again, this is in my mind, and again, this I could be wrong, we could go lower, but this is a perfect snapshot of the market has priced it.
I agree.
All of it in already. This is that perfect example of that, and so. Yep. This is going to be one of those buy the rumor, sell the news type of situations with the Aussie New Zealand, or in this case, you buy the Aussie against the New Zealand.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Hey, let's go ahead and swing over to cryptos. 47,000 still remains a very key level of resistance with Bitcoin. We have seen a little bit of upside move in the last couple of days with the altcoins, but Bitcoin's still not breaking through that level of 47,000. We did get a little bit above that, but it's come back down again. I haven't looked at my price yet on Bitcoin, but let's go ahead and take a look at that. What is your thought on Bitcoin right now? Because at the moment right now, I'm still waiting to see if we break above that, but I'm getting a little touchy right now, and probably going to look to cash in on some of the coins if we don't get that clear break above that level. What is your 2 cents? And look at the divergence we've seen on the daily, and that concerns me as well.
Yeah, that is concern. I had the economic recovery crypto session last week, and I shared two trades, one in Bitcoin, one in Litecoin. Neither of them have hit the buy zone yet, but I think there's a nice kind of shorter term buy, maybe a 1 to 2 week trade, where I've got a kind of a buy level at 41,360, target of 53,000. So nice pop to the upside. It's a little, almost $12,000 to the upside, and a stop of 37,280. So plenty of risk versus reward, but that right there tells me I'm still looking for a sell-off down to about 41,000 to start buying. I think you can keep your stop tight. At 53,000, I'm absolutely going to cash. We're seeing 20 to 25,000 before we get the next big run. This is not it.
So Tyson, you think that we're not going to see 64 and change before we see 20?
I don't know what is the catalyst.
I don't know. That's the thing.
That's the thing. Is my mind, like, I don't know what the next catalyst is going to be. I understand what the catalyst to take us there the first time was. It was Coinbase IPO. It was institutional, investors. It was Grayscale. It was all these things. That's already priced in. I don't know what the next catalyst is going to be. And I think a lot of the what about regulatory agencies? What about government? I think a lot of that is being priced in right now. Again, I think that there's the real value to Bitcoin, and that real value is right around $20,000 to $25,000. And I think historically we're going to go through these boom and bust cycles. And anytime you can buy at that institutional level, the mining cost, that's where I want to buy. We haven't hit it for. I would venture to guess, Chris and Gary, that we are near the longest stretch that we've had, maybe ever, since we've come back down and tested mining costs. It's got to be pushing close to 2017. We've now been above mining costs for, I think it's been 11 or 12 months. And that's a little too far, a little too, we're coming down to that level. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, it's funny because, after seeing it kind of blow through the June targets, I'm like, look, I know that cryptos can be overextended. Obviously, we saw, a break at 10,000 on Bitcoin and a rally to $65,000 or 64.5. So they can stay overextended for a while. So can stocks. I agree with both of you. Like, I'm not sure what exactly is the reason why we get back to 64 and change. And, at the same time, it is interesting to see how quickly they flip the narrative of, we thought, okay, Elon Musk is tweeting, Dogecoin's a hustle. China's cracking down on miners and sending them out of the country. And yeah, I was like, we're going to see 20. Maybe we'll go lower. Maybe this will just disrupt the entire crypto euphoria right now. And we based pretty well at 30. We really did. We hit it 5 times, and it rallied hard from 29,000 or 30,000 all the way back to 46.
Is some of that games being played by the institutional traders, because there is institutions that have bigger bags, and the last thing they want to do is cause a capitulation move down to 20. So is
Very
this
true.
some painting the ticker a little bit and sacrificing some of their shares to be fake bulls to kind of create this? I don't know. I just see a bunch of turkeys being sucked into this. We got Thanksgiving coming up. I think the slaughter's coming up too.
Yeah. Well, look, if we see a crash down, not crash, a correction in stocks, I'm sure that cryptos aren't necessarily going to be the hottest thing either. So, look, I think it's interesting because my thoughts are this: if the thing's going to stay overextended, I'm not touching it. I'll let it get back to 60. I get a little bit. I will definitely be wanting to protect profit once we hit those highs again. If we hit those 2021 highs on Ethereum, on Litecoin, and Bitcoin, I'm probably doing the same thing I did before, which is protect and go to cash and get ready for dips or get ready for something. But I've got to keep something in the game, and even if I just reduce my position, I got to keep something in the game. So what I'm not doing right now is I'm not ready to sell. And here's why. I didn't get in nearly as big as I wanted to because we didn't come down low enough the first time. So when these recent corrections have taken place, I only put in maybe another 5% of what I wanted, 10% of what I wanted, because I was going to start getting pretty aggressive on dollar cost averaging. And I got in twice. I got in Ethereum twice, Bitcoin twice, Litecoin once. It didn't come down to my level. I got back on Stellar Lumen. I got back on Link. So, I kind of recalibrated my 9 coins that I'm in, and they didn't come down deep enough or low enough. So I still have dry margin or dry powder ready at the lows or nearing lows. And I'm just going to sit and ride some of these positions. If they ride to nice profits, I'll protect it. But I'm going to give it some upside, over the next couple months and see what happens. But if it dips back down, I'm fine with absorbing that volatility and getting ready to buy at better prices. So nothing's really changed for me, my outlook wise. You know
how you should buy Bitcoin right now? And this isn't advice for anybody, but everybody should go out there and potentially buy the stock MSRT, MicroStrategies. Why? Because it's a $7 billion company that actually has some real IP intellectual property that is somewhat of a competitor to a Microsoft. It's a Salesforce. So it has a real business, but it owns 95,000 Bitcoin, which is about 4.5. It has 60% of its overall value of the company is in its Bitcoin holdings. So you want to buy Bitcoin, I'd rather own MSRT right now, or MSTR right now.
MSTR.
It's an expensive stock, but again, it holds 95,000 Bitcoin.
Is Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback that's now with the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback, is he on the board there for some of the cryptos he got paid in his rookie contract? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All these guys are like, I want a performance bonus, but pay me in cryptos.
Yep.
Yeah.
701 for MicroStrategy. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, here's a quick look at the Ethereum chart right here. Daily time frame. We can see we had that big blowout out of that high. It's rallied nicely. There is a correction due here. We haven't reached the overbought conditions yet on the oscillator, so it's not quite there at an extreme overbought scenario. But there's nothing holding it up here on the resistance. I don't see anything that's really been very tight on the resistance. We managed to break out of this falling wedge right here, reach the 29,000 level. We got to 3,200 right here, and there's again nothing holding it. The only resistance we've seen up here is the highs that we had in the early part of the year, and that is at 4,374. Looking at the altcoins, and I'm just going to go ahead and look at on my phone just to go ahead and pull those numbers up. But if you look at the altcoins, and this is specifically when Cameron spoke to me 2 weeks ago, and I told him to triple up on that. He's doing well on Dogecoin. All right. He bought in Dogecoin. I told him to do that, Tyson. So he's up on Dogecoin. He's up quite a bit on Dogecoin.
Lambo.
Oh, baby.
ICP doing very well. And the other one has been a real...
They're good too.
Yeah.
What's that?
The Great Malenko.
and then Cardacy doing really good. Cardacy's been a big mover over the last couple of weeks. So that's been a big mover, and that came off. We had Cardacy down at 31 cents, and last week it reached a high at 1.27, so $1.27. So that's been a big move. It's quickly as it rallied, it came back down again. We're trading around about 80 cents right now, and that's been a good mover right there. So that's those are the ones that I'm really paying attention to at the moment right now. And of course, Loopring is starting to make it move as well. So we're starting to see a nice little upside move. We're seeing 10-15% returns on, or at least 10-15% moves every day on certain crypto pairs. Although Bitcoin seems to be staying pretty firm, and Ethereum's really trying to move up. It's going up maybe 2-3% a day, but it's not moving as quickly as the altcoins are. Altcoins are starting to catch up. Last week we didn't have it. We are starting to see that move starting to take place right now. So I think
and Gary, real fast on that. I think we still probably have another 2 to 3 years of that strategy of you look for substantially underperforming altcoins in the top 100, and you look to buy those. I don't think there has to be a ton of research into what they do, because right now it's a high tide floats all ships and a low tide sinks all ships. And if we're starting to get a little bit of a pump in Bitcoin, and you start to see Ethereum kind of catch up to that a little bit, and some of the bigger altcoins, maybe such as like a Cardano or a Chainlink, you start to see them pump up. Then you go a little deeper down and you find the ones that are underperforming and start to take some shots on those. That's worked really well. I think it'll continue. I think someday that's going to stop working, because there's going to be a mass consolidation eventually. But for now, I think that's a great strategy to play.
Yeah, but mass consolidation is not bad with the consolidation is giving you a 15-20 pip rallies. You know?
It's true.
I mean, buying those dips. In fact, I think that will probably be the best thing for us in any crypto, if the market is range and it's got these ranges, and just like Ethereum did between 3,000 and 2,000, right? It was bouncing. It was actually 1,700. 1,700 and 3,000 was bouncing between those levels a couple of times. But there's so many rebuys in that traders could have taken when the market dropped back down to that 2,000, 1,700 level mark to go ahead and buy back in on Ethereum
itself. What I meant by consolidation, I think eventually a lot of these projects are going to be washed out. They're not going to go anywhere, because that's the thing with crypto is like once the blockchain's built, it's built. But what I mean by consolidation is, instead of people, I'll just take a Loopring as an example. It could be huge, but let's say that it doesn't quite serve the purpose we thought it was going to. Ethereum comes in and says, hey, we'll solve everything. Instead of people allocating any money to Loopring, they just allocate all their money. So Loopring slowly starts to fall down the market cap share. It goes from being, number 60 in 5 years, it might be number 660. Just simply because people stop allocating. But I don't think we're there yet. That's what I meant by consolidation. Is people start to consolidate more into the high quality projects rather than the speculation one.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, awesome. Guys, well, that's it for us then. That wraps up the session for today. A lot of conversation around a lot of stuff. Dollar, JPY crosses. We spoke about New Zealand rate decision coming out. What we're anticipating based on different currency pairs. Spoke about some stock options. We spoke about some crypto and what we're anticipating Bitcoin to do, as well as, of course, the other coins. A lot of conversation. Hopefully, you guys took some notes. Before I leave you guys, just another thing is, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do that. And if you have not smashed the like button yet, please go ahead and do that. That helps with the Google algorithm to get this video out to everyone. So why don't we go ahead and smash the like button, get it out there. We'd love to have you guys participate in next week's session as well. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll know when we go live. So with that being said, Tyson, Chris, thanks guys. Appreciate everyone, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you.